You'll be seated. Thanks.
I saw there's a blanket in the office. So
Is it that cold in here? I feel
it's
that.
actually better now.
Is that now aimed at my diaphragm? Let's see.
Apparently that's
But I
your-
sort of sit over here. But anything before we bring the jury back in?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just anything before we bring the jury back in?
Nothing.
Okay. Is the jury ready? Are they still, you think they're ready to come back in? If not, we can give them a few more minutes. Okay, bring them in, please. All right. No deliberations, discussions, or research back there, I assume. Is that correct? All right. Fantastic. All right. Back on the record. Please call your next witness.
Thank you. State calls Dr. Thomas Beaver.
Dr. Beaver, please come forward and be sworn. You may put your papers here if you like. Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Your affirm testimony give the court and jury in this case should be the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, help God.
Yes, I do.
Okay, please have a seat on the witness stand, state your name for the record, and swear your license.
My name is Thomas Richard Beaver, B-E-A-V-E-R.
Good afternoon, Dr. Beaver.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. I know it was a lot with your schedule.
Not a problem.
Where do you work?
I work for the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston, so I'm at MUSC in Charleston.
All right, and what do you do there?
I'm carry a bunch of hats there, but the thing that I do most, I would say, is autopsies. I do autopsies for the university, and the university provides forensic pathology services to about 70% of the state.
Okay, and can you just briefly describe your educational background and professional background in forensic pathology?
Sure. So I have an undergraduate degree from the University of California. I have a medical degree, an MD, from St. George's University School of Medicine. I followed that with a 5-year training program in anatomic and clinical pathology at the University of Colorado. And that allowed me to then take the certifying examination given by the American Board of Pathology in anatomic pathology and clinical pathology, and I passed that exam on the first attempt. I then did a fellowship in forensic pathology to subspecialize, and following that fellowship, I took the certifying examination for forensic pathology and passed that on the first attempt as well. I then took a job in private practice in California, and I was there for about 5 years doing autopsies and hospital pathology for a private practice group, and my group provided services to the coroners in Central Valley of California. I covered about 5 counties in the Central Valley, including Stanislaus County, where the group was based. After that, I left California and went to Florida, and I was an associate at District 14 in Florida, which is Panama City, Florida. Then I wasn't there long before I moved up the ladder to be chief medical examiner in Daytona Beach, Florida, District 7, and I was there almost 9 years. And then after Florida, I wanted to go back into academic medicine, and Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, offered me the directorship of the Division of Forensic Pathology within the medical school, and they offered me the directorship of the Institute of Forensic Science at the university. So I accepted that, went there, worked for them for about almost 4 years. Then there was an illness in my family. My wife got sick, and time was short, so we moved back to California, where she was from. And I worked in Bakersfield, California as a contractor, and then eventually as the chief forensic pathologist in Alameda County, California, which is Oakland, California. I was chief in Oakland for about 4 years, and that was a very large office. It's a very large urban area. I had 22 investigators, I had 8 forensic technicians, I had a couple of transcriptionists, and a few more clerical people, and we never turned off the lights, and we never locked the door. So after that, I wanted to get a little bit less headaches, and so I took a job as the district medical examiner for District 16, which is the Florida Keys. So back to Florida, and I was the district medical examiner in the Florida Keys for about a little over 3 years, and then I went to MUSC. I spent a little bit of time in West Virginia, like 6 months in West Virginia, and then to MUSC. I was looking to go back into academic medicine, and that's where I've been since 2018.
Okay, so it sounds like you've been a bit of everywhere.
I am that Johnny Cash song, I've been everywhere.
Right. Okay. So how many times have you testified as an expert in forensic pathology?
It would be hundreds, maybe even 1,000 or more.
Okay. At this time, the state would offer Dr. Beaver as an expert in forensic pathology.
No objections.
All right. Will be considered an expert in the field of forensic pathology. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Did you have an opportunity to conduct an autopsy on Terry Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And what date was that autopsy conducted?
I think it was in 2019, and I think it was around August of 2019. I'd have to look at my report to be.
You can refer to your report. Do you have it in front of you?
Yes, ma'am. I do.
Okay.
Nope, actually it was November 3rd, 2019.
And what was the date of death in this case?
So her date of death was November 1st. At least that's what I have in my records.
As part of the autopsy, do you take various samples from the patient?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and is one of those samples that you take a blood spot?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to show you what has been marked as states 69.
No objection.
And I would enter this without objection.
69 without objection.
and ask if this is the blood spot that was taken during the autopsy of Terry Lewis.
Well, what I see here is the plastic evidence envelope, and I see a brown manila-like envelope that has our label on it, and it has our handwriting from the autopsy. And so I don't see the blood spot per se, but I definitely see the packaging that we use where we would put the blood spot, and it would be inside that envelope.
Great, thank you very much for identifying that. Did you fill out a diagram of the patient in your assessment of your findings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 57. I believe there's no objection to this.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And I would enter 57 at this time. Handing you State's Exhibit 57, is this the diagram that you filled out in reference to Terry Lewis's autopsy?
Yes, ma'am. This is these are notes that I take at the time of autopsy, and I am embarrassed by my lack of penmanship.
Would this assist you in describing your findings to the jury?
Yes, it would.
Okay,
think
if I
that-
may publish at this time, Your Honor? All right, looks like I'm gonna have to speed it up and down, but if you want to describe your findings, and then we can refer to the diagram whenever it's helpful.
So she had, first of all, there were no acute traumatic injuries to the skin. So there's no wounds or things that are bleeding or anything like that. So what you're seeing drawn on there, those are not abrasions or lacerations, but those are scars and areas where skin has been harvested to graft onto her. So these are large areas of scar tissue, and I've tried to kind of draw them in so that I get the approximate surface area covered that I saw at the time of autopsy. So there's a large area over her chest and abdomen of scar tissue, and then there are patches on her arms and legs. There are also patches where the skin has been harvested for to provide a skin graft for the burned areas, and that's the more rectangular areas where I've hash marked it. And then sometimes the two things merge together where they've had to graft, but then they've also harvested skin, and it's hard to tell whether it's the graft site or a transplant site, a cover site. So she was burned over about 39% of her body by my calculation. And there's an area of scar tissue that extends over the forehead and down the side of her face to her neck.
And so that's down the right side?
Yes, ma'am. I think if I put on the drawing, it should be there, but it's on the neck too. And she's had revisions of these scars as well, I think. Some of them look like there had been revisions, but it's basically a large amount of scar tissue, and the skin is all scarred.
Okay. When you examined her, what did you find the cause of death to be?
So her cause of death is pneumonia. She was in a debilitated state, and because of that, she's bedridden, and she gets pneumonia. The lungs don't drain properly, and she had an acute necrotizing bronchopneumonia in her lungs.
And how is that pneumonia related to complications of the thermal injuries that she had?
Yes, so pneumonia is not something that we see in people that are mobile, able to stand upright, sit upright, that have no intrinsic disease in their lungs. It can happen sometimes if the lungs are diseased from smoking or some other disease condition, or it can happen if the person is debilitated. Like, let's say they have a stroke and now they're bedridden. When you lay in bed, your lungs the fluid from lungs doesn't drain properly, and fluid can build up, become infected, and eventually lead to pneumonia. So pneumonia is a complication of being bedridden. And she was bedridden because of the thermal injuries and all that scar tissue. The scar tissue retracts and doesn't allow the body to move because it's very stiff. It's not like supple like skin. It's stiff and hard in some cases.
Does breathing in fire and soot damage the lungs?
Yes, ma'am, it does. And I looked for that damage, but it's hard to see at this point because she has so much pneumonia going on. I can't tell whether that damage is the bacteria are causing necrosis in her lungs. They're destroying the tissue in the lungs. So I can't tell whether that tissue is being destroyed from the bacteria or it had been previously damaged or injured. But injuries to the lungs would certainly make it should be more predisposed to have this type of pneumonia.
Okay. And having large areas covered in burns.
Question, she's we're halfway into, what was the,
Leading.
I
She
don't
can
know
fit.
what the question is yet.
I
Right.
can tell by the way she started the question.
All right, let me let her finish and then I'll rule on it. What was the,
Already testified that
What's
the
the
victim was covered in large areas.
yeah, no, I think it was going to be leading because it was going to result in a yes or no
Right.
response. But I don't know what the question is.
Right. What sort of conditions would that contribute to?
Okay,
That's fine.
all right, thank you. Please answer.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by what sort of conditions would that, you mean the burns?
Right.
So the burns result in scar tissue. The scar tissue has basically immobilized her, and that being immobile and bedridden predisposes to pneumonia by itself without any damage to the lungs from smoke or smoke inhalation. So there may have been smoke damage to the lungs, but the pneumonia is obscuring that from my being able to tell. I can't sort out what damage is happening to the lungs from the pneumonia and the bacteria that are there, or from the smoke and thermal effect to the tissues before they got the pneumonia.
Okay. So ultimately, what did you report out as the cause of death?
So I reported it out as delayed complications of thermal injury.
All right. And for the reasons that you just stated?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Please answer any questions that Ms. Bright Matthews may have for you.
Dr. Beaver, thank you for being here. I know you had to come a long way. Try to be
that's
real
what I
quick.
do.
Dr. Beaver, I saw your diagram that's still up on the projection there. You have Miss Lewis there with breasts. Did she have breasts?
This is a template drawing, and
Yes.
she had a double mastectomy from breast cancer.
Did you have at your disposal whether or not she had prolonged exposure to radiation to treat her breast cancer?
I don't know what treatment she received for the breast cancer.
Isn't it true, doctor, though, that radiation, long exposure to radiation can also cause or contribute to thermal injury to the lungs?
Not thermal injury. Radiation wouldn't do that. Can radiation cause injury to the lungs? It would depend entirely on what type of radiation she got and what the fields that they applied it to and what they did with it. So I don't know any of those details, so I can't really answer that question.
Can lithium toxicity or lithium poisoning result in thermal injuries to the lungs?
No, ma'am.
Can smoking 1 to 2 packs a day of cigarettes cause thermal injury to the lungs?
Not so much thermal injury, but the smoke from the cigarettes causes lung damage, yes.
Did you know, doctor, in a review of the medical records on Miss Lewis, that in 2017, May of 2017, she was diagnosed with Ohio Valley fungus to her lungs? Can you tell the jury, tell me whether or not you knew that and whether or not that's treatable?
I did not know it from the medical records, but I found the nodule in her lung, and it's actually described in the microscopic description of my report.
I see.
The nodule was calcified, so I can only describe it as a centrally calcified, basically inert nodule, but it is the type of nodule that would result from that disease once it's burned out.
Okay. I noticed in your report you referred to, and it's not drawn on here, to Ms. Lewis having a stage 4 bed sore.
Yes, ma'am, I believe it, yes. I believe it was stage 3, but okay. Yes, I did not draw it on there, no.
And why would you not draw it on there? I mean,
Well,
because I'm noticing here, because I believe on your report you said that the depth of that stage, whatever, 3 or 4, bed sore was about 3 centimeters deep?
no, the size of it was 3 centimeters.
Okay.
But the reason that drawing, what I make never intending for it to be shown in court.
Okay.
That drawing is notes at the autopsy, and I don't ever think of that being in court. I do take a lot of photos.
Okay. Because I believe on your report you said that the depth of that stage, whatever, 3 or 4, bed sore was about 3 centimeters deep?
No, the size of it was 3 centimeters.
Okay.
But the reason that drawing, what I make never intending for it to be shown in court.
Okay.
That drawing is notes at the autopsy, and I don't ever think of that being in court. I do take a lot of photos.
Okay.
And if you want to put those up, I'm
No.
happy to look at those.
Wait, that's good. But you did find a significant bed sore.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And you also looked at her toxicology, meaning what was in her system.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it fair to say, doctor, that on your report you have reported that she had, I don't know what's high and what's low, but for cardiac blood, she had 53 milliliters of morphine at the time in your analysis in her tox screen?
Right, so I've looked at all of her tox results. They're all within therapeutic levels, and they're all drugs that I would be expecting her to get in her condition.
Okay, and it was, one of them is lorazepam?
Lorazepam Ativan is the trade name, and it's a benzodiazepine similar to Valium and Xanax, and I think it's to help her be more comfortable.
And what about lamotrigine? I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, lamotrigine, that's another potentiator of pain medication.
Okay, and it says 3.6. Is that a high amount?
No, ma'am. They're all in therapeutic range from my view.
Gabapentin, what is that for?
Gabapentin is, so the GABA neurotransmitter pathways in the brain are central to the perception of pain. And so that is a drug we use to potentiate the perception of pain.
Thank you.
Anything else from the state?
Nothing further.
All right. May this witness be excused?
I would ask that he be excused.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Drive safely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. State calls Lieutenant Kelly Paget.
Let's see, we could probably remove the exhibit from the Elmo.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Ms. Paget, please come forward and be sworn. You may put your papers here. You may put them there. The left hand on the Bible, raise your right. You from the testimony give the court and jury in this case should be the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Please have a seat on the witness stand. State your name for the record. Spell your last.
Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Paget, P-A-D-G-E-T-T.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant.
Good afternoon.
Tell us how long you have worked for Colleton County Sheriff's Office. I know it's been kind of off and on. Tell us about your employment history.
About 17 years now at the Sheriff's Office. Spent a couple of years away. I worked for SLED for a short time in the investigation division in the Low Country, and I also worked as a investigator in the career criminal unit with the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office.
Okay, and back in January of 2019, were you in investigations with Colleton County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I was.
All right. At some point, were you dispatched to 273 Wade Hampton Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and what time was that?
It was approximately 3:33 p.m.
And who did you arrive along with?
I arrived with Captain Angela Stallings and Detective Ed Macarella, who is now deceased.
And how long ago did he pass?
That was in 2021, I believe.
Been a few years now.
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of call were you responding to?
The nurse from the ER had called our dispatch center at the sheriff's office advising that there was a female patient there that had some burns and that her husband had been there previously and then had left the scene. And we went to the address on Wade Hampton to try to locate the husband.
Okay. And what were your initial observations when you got to 273 Wade Hampton?
I remember seeing some black substance that was underneath the carport area, and also I believe there was some water that was puddled under that area as well.
Did you see any, do you recall if the door to the home was open or closed?
At that point when we first arrived, I believe the door was opened.
Were you able to see inside the house?
I personally don't have any recollection of seeing inside the house at that point.
Okay. After you arrived, did you observe law enforcement making contact with Craig Lewis?
Yes, ma'am. I observed it was Lieutenant Long that was talking with Mr. Lewis and asking if he wanted to sign a consent to search form. And Mr. Lewis denied doing that. And in the process, he got into his vehicle and was actually trying to leave the property. And I believe it was Captain Stallings at that point was telling him that he wasn't going to leave at that point, that he was being detained. In that process, he became aggressive, and several detectives had to go hands-on with Mr. Lewis and removed him from his vehicle and detained him.
Okay. Once Mr. Lewis was detained, what did you do?
Myself and Captain Stallings, we left that property and returned to headquarters at the sheriff's office to obtain a search warrant for the residents and the property.
Okay, and did you obtain a search warrant for 273 Wade Hampton?
Yes, ma'am.
You got a magistrate to sign that?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you bring it back to the residence?
Yes.
And did you help execute that search warrant?
Yes, I did.
And did you document what all was marked with placards and what was collected for evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to go through a number of pictures.
No objection.
Numbers of those?
Yes, sir. For the record, these are pictures, exhibits 26 through 45.
All right, so that'll be states 26 through 45 inclusive without objection.
And if I may publish and direct the witness's attention to the screen up here, I'll ask Lieutenant Padgett about each picture.
You may.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you need to refer to your report, you're more than welcome to. I'm sure you will.
Thank you.
Down would be good.
All right, Lieutenant, I'm going to show you what has been marked as states 26 and ask what this placard 20 depicts.
Yes, ma'am. So just referring to my investigative report, I have it listed as a sample of black burnt substance on the living room floor next to the coffee table.
Okay. And that was that collected as a result of the search warrant?
Yes, it was.
Publishing states 27. That's the placard 20 again.
Yes, ma'am. I have it listed as a sample of hair found in the black burnt substance.
And is that just a reference point for placard 20?
It is.
Okay, but it's still the same debris that was collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Beg the court's indulgence. Okay. In reference to placard 20, was a can of fire debris collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 61. That was later labeled as SLED's Item 1. But is this what was collected in reference to placard 20?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. State would move 61 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
61 without objection.
Okay.
Publishing States 29. What is this depict?
I have it listed as liquid from bucket and recliner next to fireplace.
Was that collected?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you what's been marked as State 63. Was this what that brown liquid was collected in from placard 23?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. State would enter 63 at this time.
Without objection, I presume?
No objection, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
That's all right. 63 without objection.
State's Publishing Exhibit 30. Sorry, can you see the number on that?
Yes, ma'am.
What do we see there?
Have that listed as a log inside the fireplace.
Okay. And is there another section to placard 24?
Yes, also sample of ashes inside the fireplace.
I'm sorry, is that number 30?
30.
Thank you.
been marked as State's Exhibit 64, is that where the ash from the fireplace was collected?
Yes, ma'am.
State would enter 64 into evidence.
No objection.
64 without objection.
State's Exhibit 31. What do you have that listed as?
Sample of black substance from living room floor between the fireplace and coffee table.
Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
Publishing 632. Is that just another view of the same placard material?
That's right.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 65 and ask if this is the material from that placard, 25.
Yes, it is.
All right. State enters 65 at this time.
No objection.
Thank you, 65. Thank you.
State's publishing Exhibit 33. Can you tell us what placard 26 indicates?
Sample of burnt substance from fireplace door.
All right. Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
Marking this is State's Exhibit 72. Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 72 and ask if this is what was collected from placard 26.
Yes, it is.
State would move 72 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you, 72 without objection.
Publishing State's 34. What is this placard indicate?
Sample of black substance on the floor of the master bedroom.
Was that collected?
Yes, it was.
In State's 35, this is just another picture of the same substance.
That's right.
I'm gonna hand you. Sorry. Handing you State's Exhibit 66 and asking you if that was collected from that placard 31 that we just viewed.
Yes, ma'am.
State would move 66 into evidence.
No objection.
66, no objection.
And I believe I left this one out, State 62, when we were viewing placard 20. I'm gonna hand you State 62 and ask what this can contains.
According to my investigative report, this is a sample of the hair found in the black burnt substance.
Okay. Thank you. State would enter 62 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 62, no objection.
Now, Lieutenant, were all of these items that we just spoke about, the fire debris, everything in these cans in this bottle, were they all sent to SLED for testing?
Yes, ma'am, as far as I know.
Okay. And in fact, are there SLED numbers on there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, moving along. Who physically took the swabs of suspected blood?
That would have been Detective Tozier at the time, now Mullins.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask you about the locations. I'm gonna publish State's Exhibit 36. And that's placard 15, what are we looking at here?
I have it listed as a swab of the bloody footprint on the living room floor.
Okay, and that was collected by Tozier.
That's correct.
State's 37. Sorry, can you see that number?
I'm sorry, I can't quite see the number on the placard.
Okay. It's placard 16.
I have it listed as swab of bloody footprint on the living room floor.
Was that collected?
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 38. This is placard 17. Placard 28.
I have this listed as a swab of blood spatter from the top drawer on the right side of the entertainment center.
And that was collected.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, State's 40. Is that just another view of that suspected blood?
That's right.
State's 41.
Have this listed as blue jeans with belt on the chair in front of the washer and dryer.
And 43, is that another picture of this blue jeans with the belt?
Yes, it is.
I'll hand you what's been marked as states 68. Are these the jeans that, I'll take them out for you. Looking at the back, can you tell what it's labeled?
Yes, jeans with a belt.
Okay. And does it have a number on there?
Number 34.
Does that correspond to the placard?
Yes, ma'am.
Do these appear to be the jeans with the belt?
Yes.
And that states 68 that I would like to enter into evidence.
Counsel?
No objection.
No objection. Thank you. 68.
Okay, this is states 44. What are we looking at here?
Have this listed as blue jeans with black substance on right pants leg on the chair in the dining room at end of table.
Showing you it's been marked as state 67. And does that indicate what it is contained in there?
Yes, ma'am. Placard number 35, jeans from Sharon dining room.
All right, and the photo we just saw depicted what on the bottom of the jeans?
Black substance on the right pants leg.
State would enter 67 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
Thank you. 67. No objection.
All right. Now, the following day, Lieutenant, did you all get another search warrant?
Yes, we did.
And what was that search warrant for?
It was for a separate residence that was located 595 Kansas City Road in Walterboro.
All right. And when did you execute the search warrant on that residence?
It was executed on January the 18th, 2019.
Okay.
I just had some more that I needed more. All right. State is moving to enter exhibits 46 through 56, which are pictures of Kansas City and what was found there, as well as 73 through 75, and defense has already stated no objection.
No objection.
All right, 46 through 56, without objection.
As well as 73 through 75.
Missed that one.
Sorry.
73 through 75 also, thank you.
Well, no objection.
I had to add some. Okay, again, Lieutenant, I'm going to turn your attention to this screen. If you can just describe what we're seeing on here for the jury. State's Exhibit 46. Here we go.
Sorry, this is just a view of the residence at 595 Kansas City Road, taken from the roadway.
And whose residence is that?
My understanding, that was a secondary home to Mr. Lewis.
State's 47.
It's just another view of a different angle of the same residence.
State's 48.
It's going to be the back door of the residence.
State's 49.
It's going to be a burn pile that was located in the yard.
State's 50.
It's a burn pile in the yard.
Was that a separate burn pile?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
I'm sorry, this is State's 51. What are we looking at?
I have it listed as a burnt lighter fluid can in the burn pile in the front yard.
State's 52. Is that just another picture of that same burn pile?
That's right.
State's 53.
So number 10, I have listed as scattered cotton in the burn pile in the front yard, as well as number 11. Same thing.
State's 54, just another picture of those items in the burn pile.
Yes.
State's 55.
It's a picture of a utility trailer in the yard.
State's 56.
Just a view of some material in the utility trailer.
State 6.
I'm sorry, States 73, placard 6.
I have it listed as black burnt substance on the floor of a utility trailer.
State 74, placard 7.
Piece of black plastic with black burnt substance on the floor of the utility trailer.
State 75, placard 8.
Cotton-like substance scattered in the utility trailer.
Alright, let me ask you this, Lieutenant. Were those items with the placards from Kansas City collected? that you're aware of?
I don't believe so.
Or if they were collected, were they sent off for testing? I can ask another witness.
Thank you.
Are you aware if anything was sent off for testing from Kansas City?
I don't believe it was. I do not know. I don't believe so.
Thank you. Beg the court's indulgence. Okay, that's all I have for you at this time, Lieutenant. If you can please answer any questions that Ms. Bright Matthews may have for you.
Good afternoon, Detective Paget.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Paget, you stated that, what was your title back in 2019 working with the Sheriff's Office?
At that point, I was a sergeant.
And you were in charge of, also a part of the Criminal Investigations Unit.
Yes, sir.
At that time in 2019, when you arrived on scene at Wade Hampton Street, Wade Hampton Avenue, were you wearing any type of body camera?
No, sir.
When you arrived on scene, you stated you saw some other officers that had already arrived on scene.
That's right.
I wanted to get into a few of the things that you mentioned from your investigation. You returned with Captain Stallings with the search warrant and conducted the search of the property.
That's
correct?
right.
And when you returned to the property the second time, you didn't have the body cam on at that point either.
At that point, members of the investigation division were not issued body cameras, so no, sir.
I wanted to take a look back at placard 20, which I believe is State's Exhibit 26.
It should be.
Beg the court's indulgence, Your Honor. Captain Stallings, you can refer back to your report to placard 20. What did you list placard 20 as in your report?
I have an A and B listed under placard 20.
Yes,
A
ma'am.
sample of a black burnt substance on the living room floor next to the coffee table, and also a sample of hair found in the black burnt substance.
And at the time of your investigation, were you aware of several dogs that lived inside of the home, your investigation, that was the subject of the investigation?
Only that one of our captains had to call animal control to respond because of the canines in the residence.
So you were aware that canines were in the residence?
Yes.
You also mentioned some pants that you retrieved from the scene, jeans, I believe. From according to your report, what number were the jeans marked as?
Placards 34 and 35 were pairs of blue jeans.
And are you aware if those jeans were ever tested by SLED?
I don't know.
Let's go back to your arrival on the scene. Unlike several of your colleagues, you have a report. You've got written in here that you arrived with some other officers. Who were the other officers that you arrived with?
Captain Stallings and Detective Macarella.
In your report, did you state that you observed what appeared to be a black substance scattered from the garage carport area? And you also state that you see Lieutenant Long and others exiting the residence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you observe anything else underneath the carport upon your arrival to the scene?
Just as I have listed here, observed a black substance scattered under the garage or carport area, and there was water also puddled under the carport.
So you observed water as well as the black substance underneath the carport area.
Yes, sir.
And was that near the water hose?
I can't recall.
Did the substance and the water on the ground look to be consistent with something that fire had just been put out?
I think that's fair, yes.
And I also want to go back to another photo you took from the house.
It's State's Exhibit 30, which is what you have marked as placard 24 in your report. If you could please tell the jury what you marked placard 24 as.
Also have an A and B for this one. So A is a log inside the fireplace. B, sample of ashes inside the fireplace.
Your Honor, may I approach? I'm going to hand you what's been marked placard 24. Does that accurately depict what you saw when you took the photo?
Yes, sir.
And
I didn't take the photo, but yes.
And from this photograph, does there appear to be some ash and some other debris that appear to be